Alright, there's a guy over there. Does anyone know if Vivid's in my game? Guys. Guys, is Vivid in my game? Vivid's a player for Team Liquid. He's dropping down. Ah, GG's, dude. That was a good fight. Man, if I hit that shot there, I win that fight. He's low HP. All right, guys, what's up? We've got another build fight analysis here. In this analysis, we're going to be going up against Team Liquid's own Vivid. This actually was not during a scrim. We actually just happened to run into each other in a pub. But it's a really good build fight because we're both good on HP, pretty good on mats in this situation, and there's a lot of takeaways from both perspectives, both from him and myself. So we're gonna break this down. So I'll go ahead and let this play out. Here's the initial build up. So in this situation, I realize that this guy wants to take the fight because he does some initial shots at me here, and I like to do this ramp up. You've probably seen me do this in some of the other videos. I think this is a good way to kind of scope out the enemy here. You know, you really get to kind of get a feel for their behavior, how they're playing. You know, if they're going to just sit back and try to shoot it down, or if they're just going to keep ramping forward at you. And so I went ahead and did that, and I backed off just a little bit for a brief moment, but you'll see here in a sec, I start holding W again and moving forward once I see he starts building up. So I decide, okay, he wants to commit to the fight, and we begin the initial build off. Now, this is the first build fight where I actually have the new grappling hook, and it comes into play in this fight, I think both by myself at the beginning and him later on. So it's an interesting dynamic to add into the build fight meta here. But I see that he ramps up, and then I don't know if he accidentally walled himself off or he backed off due to spam or what, but I saw an opening here, so I actually pull out the grappling hook because I wanted to fly in and see if I could get that jump damage. Because I didn't know what his HP was. I didn't know anything else like that, and I figured it would be a good play. Actually, I stay back here to reinforce, and while I'm doing that, I see that he actually does do another wall floor ramp up to get high ground, and I decide, oh, well, what? Oh, heck, dude, I don't like that any. So I figure, you know what? Let's go in. So it's a pretty bold move, but, you know, if you're feeling confident in your strats and they have high ground and you really want to try to retake it instantly, then why not? Why not just fly in, see if you can get that shot? And we actually do get a pretty good hit on him here. You can see we burned about 3/4 of his shield, and at this point we kind of were having a bit of a spray battle. But something that I would never recommend to anyone is taking a spray battle unless it's like absolutely necessary. And since this is the beginning of the build fight and we're both good on mats, I think we both realized, all right, neither of us want to just hold mouse one at each other and see who hits more bullets. So we decide to stop it. And I actually almost held mouse one more than him. As you can see, his health is like almost 0 at this point, but he does escape. He does build up, which is definitely the right play by him. And I see that and I react by ramping up myself and trying to ramp over him. So let's see. At this point, he turns to the left to try to ramp up. And I think he actually messed up his building here. I'm pretty sure that that was not actually my wall. As you can see, I'm turned here. So a little bit of a building flub by him, but because he boxed himself in, I tried to take an advantage of this. Oh, never mind. I did put that wall down. I'm a god. Just kidding. No, so he turned left to run up the ramp. I realized, oh, he's going to try to get out from underneath me. And if I go for the box here, I can go for the trap kill. So we actually do set up the trap. I put a bouncer on this wall if he runs into it to push him into the trap. And we almost just straight up got the trap kill here for the quick finish. But he played smart and he realized, oh, I don't want to die to this trap. You know, he's going to trap the walls. I'm boxed in. So he actually breaks down, which gives me high ground in this situation. But it does give him an opportunity to continue fighting, because if he stayed up in that box, he definitely would have died. So very smart play on Vivid to go for the reset there. Just dropping down and getting out of there and not worrying too much about giving up high ground, because, you know, he still has his life, right? So, sorry about that. Didn't mean to do that. So at this point, I didn't know where he was, because I figured that was actually just going to trap kill and that was going to be the end of the fight. But whenever I saw that I didn't get the kill, I was trying very hard to find where the player was. And I think Vivid identified that and actually used this as an opportunity to reset to neutral ground. As you can see, we're both now on the same level playing field. He messed up his floor, though, unfortunately. He walled himself off from above, and because of that, we were actually able to capitalize. And so at this point, Vivid's very low. I don't know the exact amount. He's probably at like 20 HP with no shield, but he is super low, and we have high ground and high HP and a drum gun, so it's the perfect opportunity for us to really just hold mouse 1 down here a bit, right? See if we can get that chip damage in, maybe just finish him off with 1 or 2 shots through the top of the roof, burn his mats a little bit. Another good takeaway about that really quick is what you just saw. So I'm spraying, hoping to get damage in, but even if I don't get damage in, I'm burning that guy's materials. And eventually, he's going to run out. So every additional pyramid or floor or wall I can get the player to use is good for me, because if the fight goes long, they're going to run out and I'll still have mats. So we were just trying to maybe get a shot, burn a few mats, and Vivid actually uses this as an opportunity to pop minis when he sees that I stop spamming. Now I know he's in this box, so we actually drop down and see if maybe we can get a wall replaced or something, or get him off guard. But unfortunately, I don't think my drum gun was loaded there. I only shot a few bullets. I don't know. That's kind of weird. But it was enough. We scared him enough that he canceled his shield potion. So really, all we wanted to do there, we more or less accomplished. Vivid also deciding to build down, which is a smart play. When you're at a disadvantage, both from high ground and also in HP, and you're really high up in a structure, don't be afraid to continue to try to commit to the, actually, sorry, let me rephrase that. You don't have to always try to recommit to, you know, the high ground retake. If you're really at that much of a disadvantage, sometimes it's better to try to reset to neutral. And so I think he realized that here, so he actually dropped down. He did that little move that I've done a few times in these build fights, I'm pretty sure, where, you know, you just hold the walls out while you're building and then catch yourself on the floor. And he actually boxed up to heal. And that actually really threw me off super hard, because I had no idea. I didn't know where he was. I was just running around up high ground trying to find him, because he was in the box and then suddenly he wasn't. And I just didn't know how to react, right? So he actually uses that as the opportunity to get the full shield off to, or the half pot off, or whatever you want to call it. In any case, he's full shield now. So very smart play by him to recognize the fact that he was at a disadvantage, drop down and focus on healing rather than trying to retake high ground, and then later taking the fight on his own terms. So at some point pretty soon here, I do realize that he is lower ground, and you see I start to spam. But I am very cautious about this, because I want to make sure that I don't lose high ground. At very most, I want to gain neutral ground and maybe get like an edit replace through a wall and then shoot him because I know he's low. But I do not want him to get high ground. So as I'm slowly thinking about dropping down here, I'm very careful. You see, I build a floor, I build another floor. I want to make sure that I'm not giving him high ground for free, basically. So he does actually get, I think, a few shots on me, because I didn't know where he was, and he sprays up at me. and he gets those shots off when the floor breaks. But again, even here, now that we're at neutral, I build this ramp because I recognize the importance of being able to hide over the ramp and also just, you know, kind of have an advantageous position when it comes to angles approaching this rather than just taking a straight up 50-50 fight. An important thing that a lot of people that are trying to get better at builds don't realize is that even if the high ground advantage isn't huge, it's still an advantage and you can still make it work, right? So you can see here I'm actually spamming down at him from the top of the ramp, and I think we have a few wall replaces here. And at this point, I see him go out the backside. You'll see him ramp up here in a second. And so I know that he's going to try to retake high ground now that he is doing better on health, right? He's got those shields. So I recognize that, and I also build up in this situation. So we kind of reset to neutral. We're not shooting at each other. We're just trying to get ourselves into an advantageous position. And as you can see, we're actually doing a pretty good job of maintaining high ground. We're about a half grid to a full grid above Vivid on this approach. And we even ramp over him here. So really good job by myself to recognize the reset from Vivid and attempting to go for the ramp over. But obviously at some point you realize, okay, maybe I've gone a little too high, because as you can see, there's still 10 players alive. And I think in the last analysis video, it was a 1v1, but I realized, okay, look, this is not a 1v1. There are still 8 other players in the server. I don't want to die to this. So as we're building up, I'm kind of thinking like, should we get down here? Like, what's going on? We get a little block on Vivid as we ramp up at each other. We get the high ground. And he ramps up even further, but I think at this point, Vivid wants to finish the fight because he realizes the same thing. So he goes for the bouncer play, so he gets the no fall damage. He's got that active. And he goes for the grappling, so he can grappling into my face and try to finish off. Unfortunately for him, he went a little over and fell down a bit, but he did catch himself with floors. And I drop down because I see him go down. And here, he knows that I'm going to fall down, right? So he plays the bouncer game. This is a really smart move. He knew that I was going to drop down to try to finish him. So by putting a bouncer down, he actually can get high ground back. And because of that, I wasn't ready for it. He gets a very clean shot. And at this point, I'm very low HP. And he eventually cleans it up and wins the fight there. So really good stuff out of him. I think the takeaway from this fight is not so much from my ability to keep high ground, which, again, I do think that that is an important thing. Like I said, maintaining high ground will win you fights the majority of the time, right? But this is one of the rare instances where playing low ground until you are in a position to get the high ground and actually benefit from it is a good play. You know, we got that early damage on Vivid, and so he said, you know what? I don't want to fight you. I'm going to drop down into this box and heal up. And then he did, and we built up, and he dropped down again, and was like, okay, well, I know that this player is going to drop down to try to finish me. I'm going to bouncer and shoot him with high ground in the air. And he did. So GG's to Vivid. That was a really good fight. He actually did go on to win this game. This was not a scrim. This was a pub, but a pretty high-level build fight. Not the type of build fight you would expect to find in a public match, for sure. So shoutouts to him. That was pretty cool. Sorry about the... I don't know what this noise is. It's on the screen. It's bugging me. But good fight, for sure. And hopefully there were some good things that you guys were able to take away from that build fight. Last minute thing that I wanted to bring up, by the way. As you can see here from all these builds, there is nothing crazy in any of these. These are all the moves that I have shown you in the previous build fight analysis videos, which is why I highly recommend, if you're watching this and you're trying to get better at building, to learn what these moves are and really start to use them in your own games, because that is really the only way that you're going to improve and be able to hold your own in these build fights. Anyways, thanks for watching, dudes.